Hey everyone, Ben Crosswhite here, and today I want to tell you 5 stretches that are going to help relieve your back pain and hopefully for good. You want to make sure these exercises or stretches are in a weekly routine because it's very important that you consistently do them to help relieve that back pain. Also, don't do them in the morning upon waking up. So the first 30 minutes to 45 minutes in the morning when you get out of bed, your discs are more hydrated. So especially in your lumbar spine, your discs are very hydrated, 90% more so than when you wake up in the first hour and start moving around, pushing that fluid out. So what that means is you're gonna put more pressure on the annulus or that outer ring of the disc, and it could cause more tears or herniations doing even stretches, but just be careful not to do them too early in the morning. Okay, so the first stretch we're going to do is called a pigeon knee, and this is a great one for the piriformis, mainly the piriformis. It works some other muscles as well and stretches those out well, but this one you can do different ways. We're going to start on a massage table. It's almost hip level. It's going to make things a little bit easier, and the tighter you are, sometimes you may even have to do a different route. You might have to take your knee onto a bench, which is inclined like I have here, and I'll show you that now. Basically, you want to have your knee at a higher elevation. This way you can get your knee pressed against that pad. It's very important that you don't hurt your knee by keeping it up and trying to stretch with the knee not pushed down. So your ankle and your knee especially are going to have tension up against that pad. You want to square your hips up, and we're going to drop the hips down first. Very important you do that first and then lean forward secondly. So we're going to drop down, keep it square, back is straight, and then leaning forward, and you're going to feel that stretch in the piriformis muscle. It's called a pigeon knee stretch. This is the most modified version you can probably do. The higher the incline, the easier you're going to make it on that piriformis. If you're really, really tight, you might want to take this up pretty high and start working your way down as you loosen up. I'm going to stay on the massage table. I'm not quite advanced enough to do this on the ground like a lot of people. I'm pretty tight in the area, but a massage table is great. Another modification to do is taking your foot off the edge a little bit. So if you have your foot here to where your ankle's pressed in, your foot can hang, you're still squaring your body up. Your knee should be at 90 degrees. Again, you drop down first, and then we're gonna lean forward. So what I wanna do on this specifically is repetitions. And we're gonna hold about 5 to 8 seconds each repetition, and we're gonna do to the left, middle, and right to all different angles of that piriformis. So first, you get in the position here, drop the hips down. We're going to turn your shoulders to the left and drop that shoulder down. We're going to come back up, midline position, dropping forward. Again, hold about 5 to 8 seconds, and then we're going to take that left shoulder to the right. So we're going to count that as one repetition. We're going to do 8 to 10 reps on that one leg and then switching sides on the opposite side. Okay, so this stretch is a Psoas stretch. It's a hip flexor stretch, which is largely regarded as one of the most important muscles in the body. It's one of the deeper muscles in the body, and it is actually attached to different levels of the thoracic spine. It starts at T12 in your mid-back and connects all the way down to L4, and then spans through the pelvis and it connects to the femur. So it is one of the few muscles that connects the leg and the femur up to the spine. Or when you have a tight psoas, it can cause a lot of back pain and it can be referred pain. So you might not know where exactly it's coming from, but a lot of the times it's from being either too weak or too tight or overstretched. So you gotta make sure you do everything in a well-balanced manner. This stretch is gonna be in this position here. I have a pad under my knee. I have a band going up as high on my thigh as possible. This is to pull the head of that femur back and to get some tension on the psoas muscle and where you can really stretch it out a little bit better. So the positioning here with the knee down, you're gonna have the right foot forward and off to the side slightly. You're dropping your hips down. It's very important you don't just go forward without dropping the hips. You wanna get a good stretch down first, and then you're gonna lean forward into that band, so you're stretching the band out. From this position here, we're taking your left arm over to the side. So this is gonna help stretch the QL muscle, which is another back supporting muscle. It's a deep muscle in the lower back, quadratus lumborum. And this is really good for that as well, but you're gonna hit multiple different muscles in this one stretch. Dropping the hips, pushing forward, arm is gonna come to the side. Again, we're gonna hold about 10 seconds. We don't wanna get a good stretch reflex here. And then we're coming back to that position again, resetting going back into it. This is a great stretch to do, and the psoas is one of the most important muscles in the body. If you like running, walking, standing up, any of that, you want to work this and make sure that you keep it healthy. Okay, this next stretch is a quad stretch, or for the rectus femoris, the top muscle connecting all the way down to the knee and all the way up to the hip. It's a muscle that gets very tight in a lot of people, so it's good to keep it loose and stretched out regularly. I like to have a box to put your foot on about knee level. Now you can use a bench or a bed or something similar about knee level, but it's always great to have an elevated position here. Instead of just using your hand, you can focus more on the form instead of just holding yourself up and balancing. So I'm gonna start by putting my foot up on the box. The top of my foot is down. You're dropping that knee straight down to this pad. And from here, you can separate the feet, or this left foot and the knee a little bit more. And we're gonna drive the hips forward as you're leaning back a little bit. So you're gonna feel that stretch going all the way down that rectus femoris, maybe even some in that psoas that I was talking about earlier in the last one. So you're gonna push your hips forward, leaning back. If you need to have a pull for some support, that's perfectly fine. Or you can put your hands back on the box as you push forward. Again, 8 to 10 second hold. And then you're gonna relax back, and you can come down in this position here to not stretch as much and relax. And going back in that position again, and then leaning forward again. If you don't feel the stretch, you may want a higher elevation with the foot, or you may want to try to drive your hips forward a little bit more, but you should feel a pretty good stretch here. Very few people I've taken this stretch through have not felt anything. So do this on a weekly basis. It's great for your quads and for your leg. This next stretch is called the runner stretch. It's actually a somewhat complicated stretch, but it works wonders. So I would try to work this in weekly. It's a great one to do and get better at. You're not gonna be great at first, and you may even wanna put your hands at an elevated position initially on a box or a bed or something like that. But starting out, if you can do it, we're gonna start with your hands on the ground. Now the positioning here is gonna have your foot up against the hand. Make sure your foot's not too far back, but you wanna have it right beside that hand. The back leg is gonna be as far back as you can possibly get it without touching the ground. The knee is just gonna be slightly off the ground, getting a good stretch in that psoas on the right side. You're gonna feel the adductor stretching in that left leg. And then from this position, we're dropping the elbow down. So you're gonna feel that lower back stretch a little bit. So you're dropping down, those erectors are gonna feel the stretch. And then from here, we're taking that left hand straight up to the ceiling. A good turn, rotation up, and then coming back in to the elbow, push to the ground again. And you're gonna feel a lot of adductors, you're gonna feel a lot of lower back, and you're even gonna feel the right psoas muscle stretching out really good. It's a great one to do. I usually do 12 to 15 reps on each side. You can even make it more of an exercise by switching and doing each side at a time, which again is gonna give you more cardio. It's gonna add in a little bit more to it, but the stretch itself is something to not neglect. Do it every week. Okay, so the last stretch I'm gonna show you here is something you're probably very familiar with, in the cat-cow, which this one is a great stretch to do for that back. Really, I'm not a big fan of stretching specifically back muscles. Stability in the spine is much more important than actually flexibility in the spine. And it's not relation to joint proprioception, which is completely different. So when you stretch the joints out, that has really good benefits, but the spine itself sometimes can be stretched too much. So this one is more for friction. So this is gonna relieve a lot of friction in that back and the spine. So it's great to do before an exercise, great to do before golf, before running, just to get rid of some of the friction within the vertebrae. So starting out, you're gonna have your hands down below your shoulders. Your knees are right below the hips, and you're gonna basically stretch out the shoulder blades, driving your spine all the way to the ceiling. Hold for about 5 seconds, and then you're gonna come back down to a neutral position, hyperextending that lower back just a little bit. Again, holding that position here, 5 seconds on both ends, and then driving your spine back up, separating the shoulder blades, stretch out real good, and coming back down into that neutral position. Now, if this is too hard, you can always do it in a standing position, having your hands on a box or something elevated. That will also help stretch a lot of the hamstrings at the same time. But this is a great stretch to do before any activity you're gonna do and before anything that involves getting rid of some of the friction in your spine to help get more range of motion. Hey, thanks for watching the video. The 5 best stretches to never miss. They are some of my favorites, and I hope you enjoyed it. We're gonna come out with content weekly, so make sure you press that subscribe button and get the content first before anybody else. And I'm gonna try to do my best to get the best content to you guys. So have a great week, and we'll see you next time.